You know someone like this? Maybe it's you. They have a dozen ideas before breakfast. They can talk for an hour about the business they're going to start, the book they're going to write, the life they're going to build. Then they spend the afternoon on the couch, scrolling, doing nothing at all. You've probably called this person lazy. You've probably called yourself that too. But the real answer is far stranger than laziness. Something else is going on inside that brain. Something that science has been quietly mapping for decades. And once you see it, you can't unsee it in yourself or in anyone else. Let's start with a study that shouldn't exist but does. In the early 2010s, organizational psychologist Adam Grant at the University of Pennsylvania ran an experiment on procrastination. He expected to find that people who put things off produced worse ideas. That's the obvious guess. Waiting until the last minute should mean rushed, sloppy thinking. He found the opposite. Students who deliberately delayed a task, who let it sit and simmer before starting, generated ideas that independent judges rated as more creative than the ideas from students who started right away. Moderate procrastination didn't destroy the work, it incubated it. Read that again. Waiting was not the absence of work. Waiting was a hidden stage of work. This is where the ambitious but lazy person starts to make sense. Their mind isn't idle when it looks idle. It's running a background process you can't see from the outside. There's a name for this. Psychologists call it the incubation effect, and it was studied in detail by Dijksterhuis, a Dutch researcher who spent years investigating what happens when we stop consciously thinking about a problem. His experiments had people make complex decisions, like choosing between cars with dozens of features. One group decided immediately. Another group was distracted for several minutes before deciding. The distracted group made better choices. Not slightly better. Measurably, consistently better. Something in the brain kept working on the problem while the person thought they were doing nothing at all. So what does this mean for the person who talks big and acts small? It means their ambition is real. It's not a performance. It's not empty talk to sound impressive at dinner. The vision genuinely exists in their head, fully formed, glowing with detail. But here's the twist, and it's the uncomfortable one. Ambition and motivation are not the same system in your brain. You'd think they'd travel together. They don't. Ambition lives in a part of your thinking tied to imagining the future, to picturing outcomes, to dreaming about status and success and admiration. Neuroscientists call this a kind of mental time travel, the ability to simulate a version of yourself that has already won. Motivation to actually move your body and do the boring task in front of you right now is a completely different circuit. It's tied to immediate reward, to friction, to how unpleasant the very next 5 minutes feel. You can have an enormous amount of one and almost none of the other. That's not a contradiction. That's just how the machine is built. This is why the lazy but ambitious person can describe their 5-year plan in vivid, almost cinematic detail and still not answer 3 emails. Tim Pychyl, a psychologist at Carleton University who has spent his career studying procrastination, found something that reframes the whole idea of laziness. He discovered that procrastination is rarely about time management. It's about emotion management. People don't avoid tasks because they're incapable. They avoid tasks because the tasks make them feel something they don't want to feel. Boredom, anxiety, self-doubt, fear of doing it badly. So the brain does what brains are built to do. It reaches for short-term relief, it scrolls, it reorganizes a drawer, it watches one more video. Anything that isn't the uncomfortable task. And the tragic irony is this. The bigger and more meaningful the ambition, the more emotionally loaded the task becomes, and the more likely the brain is to avoid it. Ambitious people don't procrastinate despite caring. They often procrastinate because they care too much. Think about that for a second. The dream is so important that starting feels dangerous. If you never really try, you never really fail. The unfinished idea stays perfect in your head forever. This is sometimes called the fantasy trap. Researchers who study goal setting, including work building on Gabriele Oettingen's studies on positive thinking, found that vividly imagining success can actually lower your drive to pursue it. Your brain gets a small hit of satisfaction just from picturing the win. It tastes the reward early, and once it's tasted something, it feels less urgent to go get the real thing. So the person daydreaming about their future is not doing nothing. They're accidentally tricking their own brain into feeling like they've already arrived. Now think about your ancestors for a moment, because this pattern is older than ambition itself. For most of human history, energy was not something to waste. Food was uncertain. Effort had to be rationed. A brain that conserved energy until a threat or opportunity was immediate and clear was a brain that survived longer than one that acted on every impulse. Your body still runs on that old software. It still asks, quietly, constantly, is this urgent right now? If the answer is no, it holds back. It doesn't know the difference between a deadline 6 weeks away and a threat that isn't real at all. To your nervous system, they can feel identical, distant. So when you feel that pull toward the couch instead of the task that matters, you are not broken. You are running a system built for scarcity, sitting inside a world that runs on long-term goals. That's the mismatch. Not a character flaw, a design flaw between your ancient brain and your modern ambitions. Does that mean the lazy but ambitious person is off the hook? Not exactly. Because here's the part the research also makes clear. Incubation only works if you eventually act. Waiting helps ideas develop. It does not replace doing the work. Adam Grant's own findings showed that extreme procrastination, waiting until there was almost no time left, produced worse results than moderate delay. The sweet spot is narrow, enough space to let the brain simmer, not so much space that the pot goes cold. The dreaming stage is real and valuable, but it has an expiration date. So what actually closes the gap between the vision and the doing? Often, it isn't motivation at all. It's friction, reducing the number of steps between you and the first tiny action. Not write the book, just open the document. Not build the business, just send one message. The brain that resists a mountain will often accept a pebble, and once the first pebble moves, something shifts. Behavioral scientists have long noted that starting a task, even in the smallest possible way, changes how your brain values that task. The moment you begin, the emotional cost that was blocking you starts to drop. Momentum isn't a metaphor, it's measurable. So think again about that person you know, the one who talks about the future like it already happened and then does nothing about it today. They are not lazy. They are running a brain built to imagine boldly and conserve energy carefully, two systems that were never designed to sync up automatically. Tonight, when you catch yourself dreaming instead of doing, don't call it a flaw. Call it your ancestors' brain trying to protect you from wasted effort, misfiring in a world that no longer works the way it used to. The vision in your head was never the problem. It's real. It's yours. The only thing standing between you and it was never laziness at all. It was the tiny first step your ancient brain was waiting to be convinced was worth taking.
Thank you for watching. For more educational and informative videos, please like and subscribe to my channel, Doodle2D.